Have you ever really stopped to think about how you can stay perfectly balanced without even trying? Well, today, we're going to take a journey deep inside your own head to explore this hidden, absolutely microscopic world that makes it all possible. We're talking about your vestibular system. It's the unsung hero that keeps your vision crystal clear, even when you're on the move.
Seriously, think about it for a second. You can walk, you can run, heck, you can jump up and down, and yet the world somehow stays perfectly stable. How in the world is that possible? Well, that is the central puzzle we are going to solve today. And the answer, you'll see, lies in an incredibly sophisticated piece of biological engineering you carry around with you every single day. So, what's our game plan? Here's the roadmap. First, we'll get a handle on what this navigation system even is. Then, we're going to zoom way in on the anatomy of the inner ear to see the actual hardware. After that, we'll figure out how it senses movement, how it talks to the brain, and finally, how all that triggers the lightning-fast reflexes that keep our world from being a blurry mess.
Okay, our exploration starts inside the inner ear. Now, most of us, when we hear inner ear, we think, hearing. And you're not wrong. But it's actually a dual-function organ. Tucked away deep inside the bone of your skull is a second, equally vital system that is dedicated 100% to balance.
And this is the star of the show right here, the peripheral vestibular system. The best way to think about it is like a biological gyroscope combined with an accelerometer. Its only job is to detect any movement or any change in your head's position. We're talking up, down, side to side, tilting, turning, you name it, and then report that data to your brain, like instantly.
All right, let's pop the hood and take a look at the hardware itself. We're zooming into this amazing structure that's housed inside the petromastoid part of the temporal bone. This is a super complex and delicate system, and it's protected by some of the densest bone in your entire body, which tells you just how important it is. The anatomy here is just fascinating. It's basically a container within a container. The outer shell, that's the bony labyrinth. It's a hard structure, and it's filled with a fluid called perilymph. But then, floating inside that, you have the membranous labyrinth, which has its own special fluid called endomymph. This whole setup, this separation, is absolutely crucial for how the whole thing works. So inside that membranous labyrinth, there are 5 distinct sensory organs. You've got the saccule and the utricle. They handle linear motion. Think about accelerating in a car or that feeling you get when an elevator starts moving up or down. That's them. Then you have the 3 semicircular canals, and they handle all the rotational movements, like shaking your head no, or a dancer spinning in a pirouette. And this is it's just brilliant design. The 3 canals are positioned at roughly 90-degree angles to each other, exactly like the X, Y, and Z axis on a 3D graph. This ingenious arrangement means that no matter which way you turn, tilt, or rotate your head, at least one of these canals is going to pick up that movement perfectly. There are no blind spots. Okay, so we've got the hardware down, but how does it actually work? How does a physical movement, like you tilting your head, become an electrical signal that your brain can actually make sense of? That's the next piece of the puzzle. Well, the system actually uses 2 different tricks for 2 different types of motion. For linear movement and gravity, it uses these tiny little crystals that slide across sensors. But for rotational movement, it's the fluid itself sloshing around and pushing on a gelatinous blob. But did you notice the one key component they both have? Hair cells. They are the tiny transducers that make everything happen. And you have a ton of them. We're talking about approximately 63,000 of these microscopic hair cells in each ear. 40,000 for linear motion, 23,000 for rotation. Every single one is a tiny motion detector, and it's on duty 24/7. So, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. How does this actually work? It's this brilliant mechanical process. Your head moves, the fluid shifts, and it bends these tiny little hairs, the cilia. Well, that bending physically pulls open little trapdoors, ion channels. Positively charged ions rush into the cell, which changes its electrical state. And that change tells the connected nerve to start firing faster, sending a crystal clear message to the brain. Hey, we're moving over here. Okay, a signal has been generated in the ear. Awesome. But it's totally useless until it gets processed, right? So now, that signal has to travel along this dedicated nerve pathway all the way from the ear to a central processing hub in the brainstem. And this isn't just some single wire. You got to think of it like a high-speed fiber optic cable. In humans, about 15,000 of these nerve fibers are bundled together, carrying a constant, massive stream of information about your head's position and movement straight to your brain. And the signals arrive at these 4 distinct processing hubs, or nuclei, in the brainstem. But these aren't just passive receivers. They're like specialized command centers. The superior nucleus, that's the eye reflex department. The medial nucleus coordinates your head and neck. The lateral nucleus manages your posture. And the inferior talks to the cerebellum to fine-tune everything. It's an incredibly organized little system. So, what is the whole point of all this? What's the end result of all this sensing and processing? Well, the final output is a set of automatic, totally involuntary reflexes. These are the reason you can stay upright when you trip, and, more importantly, the reason your vision stays perfectly clear when you move your head.
And this quote really just sums it all up perfectly. The 2 main jobs of this entire complex system are actually pretty simple. 1, keep your eyes stable so you can see clearly, and 2, keep your body stable so you can stand up and move around. So let's see exactly how it pulls off that first one.
Okay, let's walk through the reflex that answers our big question from the beginning. This is called the vestibulo-ocular reflex, or VOR for short, and it's one of the fastest reflexes in the entire human body. It all starts with this super simple action. You just turn your head to the right. The second you do that, instantly, the fluid in your right horizontal canal moves, bending the hair cells. This makes the vestibular nerve on the right side start firing like crazy. And at the exact same time, the firing rate on the left side calms down. Your brain now has an unmistakable signal. We are turning right. That head-turning right signal doesn't mess around. It travels straight to the vestibular nuclei in the brainstem, where it activates a pathway that connects directly to the control centers for your eye muscles. And the wiring is just so precise. The signal from your right ear crosses over and tells the muscles on the outside of your left eye to contract, and at the same time, the muscles on the inside of your right eye. And the result of those very specific muscle contractions? An immediate, perfectly matched counter-rotation of your eyes. Your head went right, so your eyes instantly snapped to the left by the exact same amount. And that, right there, is the magic trick. Because your eyes moved perfectly opposite to your head, your gaze stays locked on its target. The words on that sign you're reading while walking stay perfectly still and clear. It's this beautiful, lightning-fast feedback loop that happens every single time you move your head, and you never, ever have to think about it. So, we've seen how this absolutely elegant system works in perfect harmony to give us a stable view of the world. But, it does beg one final question. What happens when things go wrong? What happens when the information from this internal gyroscope doesn't match what your eyes are telling you? Well, that conflict, that neural traffic jam, is precisely what leads to things like dizziness and vertigo. But that's a story for another time.